President of Worth Brahmas. I'd like to mention some of the people here today. I'd like to mention Jim Lane, Mayor Pro Tem, Kirk Slaughter, City of Fort Worth, Chris Harmon, James Horner from the City of Fort Worth, Tim Lanier, who has worked with us extensively in regards to our building and situation here at the Fort Worth Convention Center. And I'd like to turn it over to Andy Moog, who would like to tell you about some of the things that are happening at this point.
Well, first off, I think everybody's aware of the statement that the Fort Worth Fire made on Saturday evening regarding the fact that they're not going to return for the 99-2000 season or the seasons in advance. So it leads us in the position where we have become the only professional hockey franchise in Fort Worth, and we're very proud and happy to represent ourselves as that. When I became involved with the Brahmas last summer, I'm going to read this just so I stay accurate. When I became involved with the Brahmas last summer, I realized that the city could not support two hockey teams. And in a couple of conversations I had with the Fire's owner, David Elmore, he agreed, but he was obligated to operate the Fire, and I understood this. As far as the Brahmas were concerned, and when Mike came on board, we always felt that we were committed and we wanted to be the sole team in the area, and I'm really happy that we stuck it out this season and we're able to sit here before you and announce that we are the sole hockey team. We believe that Fort Worth and Tarrant County are rich in a great sports tradition, and with the support of the fans, the business community, and the local media, we'd like to solidify our place in the local sports scene. One of our objectives is in the upcoming seasons is to improve on the presentation of the games at Tarrant County Convention Center and Will Rogers Coliseum. We'll work very hard with Kurt Slaughter, Director of Public Events, and his staff to improve the professional hockey experience in these facilities. That's the prepared portion of the statement I have. I'd just like to make a footnote on basically what's going on with the club right now. Very proud to tell everybody in attendance that the Brahmas have played 3 consecutive road games in 3 nights and won them all, and currently stand in a 2-0 lead in the best-of-5 series versus Abilene. And Game 3 will occur because of scheduling difficulties in Plano at Icebound, and if there's a necessity for a Game 4, let's hope there isn't, but if there is a necessity for Game 4, we'll play a reunion on Saturday evening. That's an update on the Brahmas situation with regard to the upcoming season and the current playoff status. If Mike has anything to add?
We can talk a little bit about the Brahmas and the team in just a moment, but I wanted to let Brad talk a little bit about the Western Professional Hockey League, where the league is going at this particular point, and the league's comments in regards to the situation here in Fort Worth.
Thanks, Mike. First of all, I'd like to thank the City of Fort Worth. As Andy and both Andy and Mike have mentioned, it's been a trying 2 years, I think, for all involved. As Andy mentioned, when Andy became involved last year, I think all people involved knew that a divided market and a 2-team market wasn't going to be the way of the future, and it wasn't going to be something that could last for any length of time. So I just wanted to thank everybody, Mike and his staff, first of all Andy and the ownership group of the Brahmas, Mike and his tremendous staff, and the City of Fort Worth for hanging through the past difficult times, if you will. As Mike mentioned, we really look at Fort Worth as being a marquee city in the Western Professional Hockey League. I think one of the great strengths of our league is the close geographical nature of our cities. As Andy mentioned, unfortunately with a scheduling quirk as it would be, Fort Worth was participating in the Western bracket and met El Paso in the first round. But when you look at a series, when you're playing a team as Abilene, the potential to play a team of Waco, the Austin, Texas, Shreveport, Louisiana, and the close geographical nature of those cities, and the tight rivalries that can exist, it just makes Fort Worth a tremendous fit in the WPHL. And as I said, we're tremendously proud to have Andy, his ownership group, Mike Barrick, and his staff, and feel that they have and will be a marquee city in the Western Professional Hockey League. The WPHL has been noted, I guess you could say, of having a quite vigorous expansion plan in our 3 years. This is our 3rd season of operation. We began 3 years ago with 6 teams. After year one, expanded to 12, and now have 17 teams currently in play right now. We're welcoming our 18th franchise in Lubbock, Texas, which will join next year, the Lubbock Cotton Kings. So we're tremendously proud of the accomplishments that have happened to this point of the season and this point of our existence, and we feel we've got a bright future ahead. Those accomplishments couldn't be possible if not for the people that are involved in the Brahmas and all the organizations throughout the league. I'd like to congratulate Mike, Andy, and especially Terry and his players. I'm not probably the most likable guy here today. We had a situation with scheduling as it does work out. Fort Worth, the Brahmas have battled not only 2 formidable foes, but a difficult and grueling schedule, and they've done it with professionalism, and they are to be congratulated on the lead that they do have right now. It's been a difficult travel coming from El Paso to Abilene, playing their third game in 3 nights, and then following up with a 4th game in 4 nights. Again, sometimes we run into those difficulties, but they're to be congratulated on how they've battled through it. I guess in closing from our position, again, we want to thank everybody. We want to ask and hope for your support here in the future. I think you've got a tremendous product on the ice, and you've got a tremendous management team, ownership team that is going to put on a tremendous entertainment package for you. So we're glad to be here. We're excited about it, and we're looking for great things in the future in Fort Worth. Thank you very much.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the Brahmas situation in terms of marketing and promoting the hockey team in the very near future. Obviously, with a one team scenario here, this is going to be a great opportunity for the Fort Worth Brahmas to promote their product to the city of Fort Worth, and we're excited about that. I don't know if everybody's familiar with some of the community relations programs that we put together during the past year, but our motto has been affordable family entertainment and community relations. 2 key elements in our success during this past year, which we feel we've had a fantastic first year under the new ownership group, the new franchise. And then in addition to that, we've really been strong in community relations. We want to thank Harris Methodist Hospital. Jill is here representing Harris today. We secured an agreement with Harris Methodist in regards to our Healthy Goals program, which was instituted for the first time in the Metroplex. Brahmas made nearly 20 school appearances on behalf of staying in school, good attendance, eating healthy, and we made these appearances at school assemblies, and the response was fantastic. And I think the principals, the schools, students were very, very appreciative of the community effort that the Brahmas made. Number 2, for the 2nd consecutive year, the Brahmas instituted their Grades for Blades program, in which students that achieved excellence in both school proficiency and attendance received a free voucher to a Brahmas game, and we were overwhelmed during both the winter and during the spring semester in regards to principals that were wanting to be part of the Grades for Blades program, and we feel that will continue in a very positive manner. And a 3rd program in which we will be instituting, and we've put this information into a press packet, is a program called Blacktop Brahmas. And this program will begin in the next 5 weeks, in which the players will be doing free inline hockey demonstrations for kids during the summer at various different locations. Some will be at sponsors' locations, others will be at locations deemed, in our opinion and in the community's opinion, to be goodwill gestures on behalf of the Brahmas in terms of teaching kids how to skate, teaching kids how to play, and this will take place throughout Tarrant County and throughout the area during the summer as well. We plan at least 20 what we call these Blacktop Brahmas programs. There'll be more details coming out in the very near future as far as that's concerned. The Coca-Cola people have supported and have committed to backing the Blacktop Brahmas program this summer, and we're very appreciative of their support on that. And that's really our key to success. I came in at the end of July, and at that point, under the new corporation of Fort Worth Brahmas, we had no employees, no staff, no computers, no office space, and really we started from scratch with, as an expansion franchise, really, at the end of July. And since that point, we put together a full staff. We had 9 Fridays and Saturdays during the regular season, and we had very strong attendance figures, considering we had a total of 9. We understood that when we came in, that was the scenario with 2 hockey teams and the dates, and we were very pleased about our attendance figures during those weekend dates. In addition to that, we made great strides in terms of attendance. As mentioned, with the weekend dates, we did very well. Our corporate sponsorships, we were #1 in the Western Professional Hockey League in corporate sales turnaround. We were nearly 300% of an increase in corporate support from year 1 of the Fort Worth Brahmas. We have major players that have jumped on board with the franchise, and we are very excited about the future of corporate support in the Fort Worth area. And we're very thankful for the people that have come on board. And in terms of our ticket holders, obviously the attendance figures speak for themselves for the Brahmas and the Fire in terms of what can take place with one professional hockey team during, rather than a 70-date schedule, a 35-game schedule, with the majority of those games we're hoping that would be on Fridays and Saturdays. And if that's the case, and we market this product with the community relations in mind, targeting the corporate community in terms of season tickets as well as individuals, we're very confident that we can be an overwhelming success during the 1999-2000 season. Based on the comments we've received from the public, calls, our corporate sponsors, we feel that there's just loads of opportunity in the future. And what's great about it is we have the full summer, and really we have from here on in, because we have already announced our season ticket prices for the 99-2000 season, with our current season ticket holders as well as the entire community having an opportunity with a 20% discount on season tickets prior to May 1st. And we're excited about the opportunity for the general public to get in at a very reasonable rate in terms of season tickets. So the future is great. We see a whole summer, a whole opportunity in the future to market the franchise. And that's been something that when Andy offered me the position, I felt that this was a great market, with great people, great corporate support, and with the with the backing of the city of Fort Worth and the great people here, we're confident that we can be an overwhelming success.
You said that the league realized that there was no way that 2 franchises could make it in Fort Worth. Why did the league grant the franchise to the Brahmas in the first place, considering that there was a knowledge that 2 franchises couldn't make it here?
Well, going back to when the Brahmas joined the WPHL and in essence made Fort Worth a 2-team market, it was a situation where the then current ownership group at that point had made strides to us in terms of putting a franchise in here, and really made it known that they were going to have a team in here, whether it be the WPHL. Obviously, if you look at it from a geographical standpoint, is there another league for them to go to? Maybe not. But at that point, they're very committed at having a team in here. Obviously, I guess you could say from a selfish perspective, as I said earlier, it fit very well. It fit very well from a location, from a geographical standpoint. We felt it fit well with some rivalries that obviously we feel would take place. But I guess if you look back, sort of, we were still in our infancy stage then. It just wasn't a situation that was good. I think through situations like that, you maybe learn some things. And I'm not saying it was a mistake at the time, but we knew there was going to be some tough road to hoe. If we had to do it over again, I don't know what the situation would be, but we're just excited that we've gotten to this day where we do have one team, because I think we're all in the same opinion that just 2 teams do not work.
what sort of clauses or anything like that would you guys take to make sure this sort of scenario doesn't happen again, where another team would possibly move there?
Well, I think we've had a lot of discussions with all the different leagues. If you look at the sport in general over the past 5 years, it's exploded to the point where you're almost running out of markets. When you look at a potential market, obviously there's a number of factors that come into play. Size of the market, venue, obviously plays a big role in terms of whether the city has a venue. So it's discussions now that we've had discussions with other leagues and looking at not trying to be in a situation where we're infringing on other turf, if you will. I don't know if there's ever a clear-cut formula saying this is not going to happen, it's happened. If you look at right now, as recently as 2 weeks ago, in the American Hockey League, East Coast Hockey League has a team in Toledo, Ohio. American Hockey League now is going into a suburb of Toledo, moving their American Hockey, Detroit Red Wings moving their American Hockey League affiliate from Adirondack, New York to Toledo. So I think it's got to be a conscious effort from league administrators to not put themselves in a situation where there's a competing entity. We may be in another situation of a two-team market here as recently or as early as next season in Little Rock, Arkansas. We've had the team there, the Arkansas Glacier Cats have played and competed this season. New venue being built in Little Rock. East Coast Hockey League does have a franchise there. So I guess I've taken the long route to answer the question. I don't know what that formula is other than talking and having dialogue between all leagues, between prospective owners, and making sure that we don't get into situations where we're competing against each other.
Are there any discussions planned, formal talks planned between the 5 AA leagues to make sure this doesn't happen? Maybe even promote interleague play between the different leagues?
We have tentatively scheduled a meeting of the leagues, and not necessarily there's many topics, many issues, ranging from player issues to things such as, and looking at territorial boundaries, if you will. I hence to phrase it like that, but looking at trying to not hinder each other's business, but what's the way we can promote each other's business. So we have tentatively scheduled those talks for late April, and we feel it's something that we look at what's happened in baseball, minor league baseball over the last 4 years. I think we as professional minor hockey have to look at what has been successful in baseball and try to parallel those sort of things rather than being in a situation where we're competing. We do compete on a number of levels. From a recruiting standpoint, we compete for players. We've been in situations where we're competing in markets and competing for fans. But there's got to be some synergy where we can work together.
That discussion, could it involve interleague play? Is there a possibility that some of the old CHL teams that came in here and played the Fire, could they come in and play the Brahmas?
At this point, I would say no. There's too many things. That question has been raised before in terms of interleague play. There's just too many different variables that come into play. At this point, there is no plan for interleague play.
How about realignment of leagues? Leagues swapping franchises, for example?
No, there'd be no talk there.
Mike, in the past, when the Brahmas came to town, a number of the firefighters affected over. Is it possible that under the circumstances you could adopt some more of their players?
You asked me that last night, and I was ready for it. Terry Menard is right here, our coach of the Brahmas. Terry, I was going to defer to Terry, and that's why I ferociously begged Terry to come today so he could answer player questions. The way our franchise is laid out, for the most part, I've been involved in the promotional, marketing, and business side of the operation. And Terry the reason the Brahmas are where we're at today is because of Andy Moog and Terry Menard. We're in the second round of the playoffs and doing well. We pretty much kept Terry in charge of the player recruitment, signing players, with consultation with Andy. They're the hockey guys, so I pretty much try to stay out of it. So Terry, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. I'm going to try to ice the best team possible, and whether they come from the Fire or anywhere else, I'm going to ice the best team. So if they come from the Fire, if a player or players can make my team, well then I'll power to them. I'm going to sign them up.
Have there been any discussions?
Not at all, not yet.
When did you all know? I know the announcement was made Saturday, but this press conference was planned last week. When did you all know for sure that the Elmore Group was going to pull out of Fort Worth?
We knew probably, I would say, a week before the end of the season that they were gonna have an announcement at the conclusion of their regular season, realizing they waited until, I suppose now, they waited until that time, until they were sure that they weren't going to make the playoffs.
How many discussions did you have with Fire ownership concerning which team would stay, which one would leave? Did you talk to the Elmore people during the season?
Personally, no. Not at
Anybody
all.
in association with the Brahmas or attorneys talked with the Fire?
I think what we had attempted to do was find out what their plans were for the future. Obviously, a little reluctant to give us that information, but a week prior to the end of the season, we could discover what their plans were.
Mike, coming from Cincinnati, they do have two minor league teams that seem to work well. They seem to be doing quite well.
Well, I wouldn't say they work well together.
But what, it's
there's-
not a situation like here though, right? I mean, where one is.
Just to compare the situation, I happen to be one of the few people to have worked in two markets in consecutive years with two hockey teams in the same market. Cincinnati Cyclones of the IHL and the Cincinnati Mighty Ducks of the American Hockey League. They came in. It's kind of a different situation. They're both same level of play, both play in different arenas, and both own their own facilities as well. In this scenario here, both of the franchises are leaseholders to the city of Fort Worth. In terms of the scenario here, in Cincinnati, both of their franchises own their own buildings. Cincinnati Cyclones purchased the building, which is now the First Star Center in Cincinnati, which formerly hosted the Cincinnati Stingers of the WPHL, World Hockey Association. The Mighty Ducks are an affiliate of the Anaheim NHL team, and they have owned, the Robinson family that owns that team has owned that facility for quite some time. And so it was easy for them from a financial standpoint to bring in a team. There's an affiliation fee that they have to pay, but their building was already paid off, so it made it easier for them. Both teams have done fairly well. The Cyclones are averaging over 6,000 a game this season. The Mighty Ducks of Cincinnati, I believe, 3,000 or 4,000, but their building is paid off. So you know, they've both done well. There's a market share situation there, in which obviously if there's one franchise and one building, either one of those franchises would succeed on a much stronger basis. The Cyclones are struggling with a salary cap of over $1.2 million in the International Hockey League, and the Mighty Ducks have not drawn as well as the Cyclones. So you're going to have some interesting scenarios with two teams, but both of those owners would prefer that there be one team in that market as well.
Can we ask a couple of players some questions, since they're here? There's some seats up there. What are y'all's feelings? You played for the Fire the one year that they won the championship, then you went to the Brahmas. Any mixed emotions on seeing the Fire leave?
Well, for me, you know, it's for sure there's a little bit, but I mean, there's only place for one team in this town, and I think the Brahmas have done a great job this year to get some fans in the building and promote the Brahma hockey, and I feel fortunate to play for that organization. I feel you're doing a great job doing it, and the WPHL is a great league, and I think it's going forward, and I'd rather play for the WPHL than the CHL. I think it's a lot better league, and it's a lot better organized.
Now he's saying that even after the 4 games are played.
What are your feelings, Steve?
Well, yeah, almost same thing. We changed league after we won the championship after that year. We were not happy about the league, so everybody went all over the place. I went in the East Coast. I came back here this year, and I like this league, and I think it's a good thing for the town, and it's a good thing for the league.
3 years years you played in 3 different leagues, this is a stupid question, because I know what you're gonna say. But, which league is better? East Coast, Central, and,
Well, depending on the Central, but I think East Coast is a good league too. I like it there. It's like most of the team are affiliated with an NHL team. It's like not more serious, but the guy it's younger and everything. But this league, it's a good league too. I like it here. It's good talent, and they're both good. Those 2 leagues are both good. I like them both.
Steve, why is it you think that the WPHL is more fan conducive to this area? Is a large part of that just this faster game that we're on? People are still catching on to hockey down here and need a faster game.
Yeah, maybe probably. Yeah. I think
I mean, because you've got the 2 teams, and obviously the Brahmas are winning, and the Fire's not winning, and that's going to have something to do with it. But that's not going to be the entire picture. There's something about the WPHL that apparently is more attractive to the people in this area. I think some comments on
I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm just a player.
I think it might be a couple of things. You hit a good point. I think that if you go back to year 1 and sort of the maturity of the league and the level of play, speaking in year 1, I can speak quite candidly. It was, and I know Terry, from a coach's perspective, can speak to it. It's a tough recruiting effort at any time. Right now, the hardest days for a coach is once the season comes to an end, you now have 100 teams trying to get the same guy to go to their particular city. So I think when you get into a situation in terms of, in that first year, it was tough. It was a tough sell that you're selling a first-year league. The league has now established itself as a viable place for a player to come and play. We've had a number of players. This past season, we had 67 players recalled to the International Hockey League, American Hockey League. We've had 2 players this past season sign National Hockey League contracts. So if you look from a player's perspective in wanting to come somewhere to advance their career, I think we've done when I say we, I mean the coaches, owners, and general managers of each particular team have done a very good job in solidifying the talent level in this league. I think when you look at it in terms of the comparative, some of it has to do in terms of the rivalry that is there. If we look at, for instance, a Fort Worth, people are going to have a built-in rivalry to an Austin. The Odessa and San Angelo, there is a rivalry there. El Paso, New Mexico, it goes back to whether it be high school football, whether it be collegiate athletics, there is a rivalry there. But I think from a player's perspective, you're looking at some tremendous players. The level of play in the league has come a great distance. We've got 2 players up here with us today that I said won a championship in Fort Worth with the Fire. Took this team to the championship last year. But you're seeing league-wide some tremendous players and some tremendous competition.
Mike, next year with only 1 league in town, we're going to see fewer conflicts such as we've seen in the past couple of years as far as scheduling venues, particularly playoffs.
It's something that we're going to be discussing with the city of Fort Worth here in the very near future. Obviously, with 2 teams, the schedule situation has been extremely difficult, but we're confident and hopeful that by having 1 franchise here, that we'll be able to arrange a schedule which is heavily conducive to weekend games. This year, as mentioned, we had 9 Fridays and Saturdays. We're hopeful of having anywhere between 20 and 30 Fridays and Saturdays during the 99-2000 season, and obviously that will be tremendous in boosting attendance and the interest in the franchise. And we hope to discuss early. We came in late in terms of our situation in putting together a schedule. I remember with James on the phone trying to put this all together in August. When we came in, the whole league was waiting on the Brahmas in regards to the final schedules for the league, as well as the buildings as well. And at that time, the building was booked for one reason or another reason, and obviously we were late. In this particular case, we're going to have obviously a much more early opportunity to discuss scheduling and dates and things such as that nature in the near future. So, we won't be scrambling as we were at the end of last summer in order to put dates together. In addition to that, one of the discussions we'll have is obviously hoping, as mentioned, hopeful and optimistic, that we would be able to secure some dates maybe on hold for playoffs in the near future as well. And obviously, we got such a late start this year, we can't expect building necessarily to hold dates for us when, you know, we put this together at such a late date. That definitely will be something, you know, we would like to put together for the 99-2000 season.
When you look at how the attendance figures wound up for the season, and you're the only team in the league sharing the city, and yet you still managed to climb out of last place in attendance. So that had to be a positive sign. Now with this having happened, have you targeted a goal as to what you would like to average per game next year?
And we've got, what do you want, my goal or what I'm telling the ticket people I had? We've got, you know, I don't want to spill the beans and then let them off the hook. You know, but I think a good number to start would be 3,000 paid a game. I think that would be something, and again, Andy can comment on this as well. With corporate sponsorships being, I think a target goal would be over $500,000 in corporate support. I think would be a nice start. But obviously with a full summer, to put our programs together, our season ticket pricing is complete right now. We've got a nice deal for people, as mentioned earlier, with a May 1st target date. In terms of a heavy discount, you know, we're extending ourselves to all the hockey fans throughout the Metroplex. We're keeping this discount, so for the Fire fans that have had season tickets, we want to offer, you know, an olive branch and offer a discount to them as well, with a very, very strong and heavy 20% discount up until the May 1st situation. So yeah, I mean, we feel that with weekend dates, one team, being associated with the WPHL, corporate support, this thing can go very well. But I think that would be a nice number, I think, to start. Andy, can you comment on specifics in regards to numbers?
None of these things are going to happen magically, and we discovered that through trial and error this year. As basically we were all rookies in this endeavor. Mike's first year as general manager, myself in the president's role, and Terry as the coach. So we had trial and error along the way, and we discovered that nothing really gets accomplished without a great deal of hard work and focus. I'm not the type of person that would put a number or an objective or a goal, because I think it's an ever-changing scenario. If you were to accomplish something terrific in the first 2 months, your goals and objectives would change for the remaining 3 or 4 months prior to the start of the season. I just feel real confident that the hard work that our staff is going to put in is going to present a very positive number of season tickets and a great regular attendance for the game. And in terms of putting numbers on, I don't think I could guess at that right now.
How much money is this franchise going to lose this year?
You don't want to know.
Because I know the other side's losing money too. I mean, this had to be real tough for an ownership group.
Considering it was my first endeavor, it was pretty tough to take.
Andy, considering you've got another primary financial backer, a guy who's, like you said earlier, has considerable financial resources, have you been able to sustain any of these losses any better at write-offs or anything like that in that way?
Obviously, I don't have enough experience to tell you how that'll work with regard to writing losses off. He's got experience and background in this area. He'd probably be better able to answer that question than I am. I've trusted him and his abilities, and I'll continue to trust him.
Guys, and Terry, to both of you want to answer about, as players and coach this year, with all this going on, and for that matter, there was a point in time when no one knew which team was going to stay, which team was going to go, or both teams were going to stay. How big a distraction was that at any point during the season, while you're out there trying to play and win games, and yet, you know, you might even not have a job in town at the end of the year?
Well, I can answer that. I guess my job is a hockey operations side. I mean, business side was Andy and Mike's job. We did our job on the ice to the best of our abilities, and we never really, you know, thought or considered about playing anywhere else or thinking about anything negative about, you know, what business side of hockey, you know, it would be for, whether we'd be here or not. We just concentrated on our game, and we had faith in Mike and Dan and Franklin taking care of the rest. We just took care of the on-ice operations.
Michael, you and I talked about the other day in regards to some of the things the Fire are going to turn over in regards to corporate information and ticket information. How much is that going to help this franchise immediately and beyond?
Can't really comment on that at all in terms of the details. You and I have had a conversation, but in terms of details of Brahmas will have or, you know, will be utilizing in the future, I can't comment.
Is there any situation of a buyout or any kind of agreement that they would leave, or is this just the Elmore Group folding shop and leaving town?
As far as we're concerned with regard to the press release on Saturday night, that's the information that's been made available to us right now. Something that's happened at a later date, so be it, but right now, we're happy that we have the Fort Worth market to ourselves, and we're happy that the announcement was that they're not going to be back for the 99-2000 season.
So if it's just a folding, then you all are not entitled to any kind of lists, season ticket lists, or anything from the Fire?
Not currently.
Are you going to try to obtain those rights to have those lists?
Honestly, I don't know how that process would begin. I don't know how that sort of thing would get started.
Any other questions at all? Once again, we want to thank representatives from the city of Fort Worth for being here very much. Appreciate that. Once again, I would like to make two more comments briefly. Number one, I want to thank the people with the Fort Worth Fire for their professionalism. As much as it's been a very competitive situation, I want to thank Jason Watson and his staff for keeping this into a professional situation during this entire season. So I want to thank the Fire Organization, the Elmore Group for their professionalism during this. And you know, we know that we've received some calls already from some Fire fans that, you know, maybe be disappointed about this, but we're going to work very hard to win them over and make them Brahma fans. If they're hockey fans, if we can prove to them that we market this franchise, do it right, we're hoping that they'll come over to our side. Secondly, we want to thank the Dallas Stars. A lot of people have asked me during this past year in terms of what's the relationship with the Brahmas and the Stars? Are you guys an affiliate, or do you work with them? Is it a tough situation? And I can only say this, that thanks to Andy's relationship with the Stars, and we have developed a great relationship with them. The better the Stars do, in my opinion, the better for the Brahmas. The Stars win the Stanley Cup, that's more interest in hockey in the Metroplex, and we feel that'll spill over to hockey, professional hockey in the Fort Worth area. So while people sometimes say, is this going to hurt you, or does the NHL being in Dallas hurt you? Absolutely not. Having the NHL and the Dallas Stars in this marketplace is simply a help to the Brahmas, and they've bent over backwards to help the Brahmas. They've promoted the team with some video activity at their games. They've allowed us to talk to their people at their games and talk to them about the Brahmas. So again, I want to thank both the Stars for their help, and also again to thank the Fort Worth Fire for their professionalism all during the season.